Welcome everyone to our YouTube series, Test Prep Made Easy. So in this particular series, we are going to post regularly questions on our YouTube channel. The questions may pertain to CAT preparation, maybe pertaining to GMAT preparation, as well as of various topics which are tested in these particular exams. For example, quants, LRDI, English, and various areas which are tested. And each day we will handle certain number of questions and their video solutions. The best approach is to these questions in these videos. So have a happy preparation ahead and enjoy the video. Thank you.
All right, so these are the questions that we are going to try in today's video. If you have tried it already from the thumbnail, good enough. If you haven't, you can pause the video at this point and try it once before you look into the solutions. We recommend you doing that. But if you just want to enjoy the solution, that's also good enough. And go ahead and watch the solutions now. All right, so in this question, we're looking to find the area of the shaded region. So this is the shaded region out here. On the face of it, this looks a bit complicated, but these dimensions have been given for some reason, right? So let us try to break this up. So there are a couple of 90 degrees out here. This is mentioned in the figure itself. So these are a couple of 90 degrees that we have. Okay, so it's a pretty straightforward question actually. See, understand that most of the areas of quadrilaterals and stuff like that are built out of triangles. The areas are coming from triangles only, and even in case of trapezium and stuff, a parallelogram as well. I mean, you can imagine them as break them up as triangles. It becomes easy to understand the area. So in this case, whenever there's a question which is not a figure I'm comfortable or not something which is very usually that I see, I always think in terms of triangles. So the shaded region, first of all, I hope you can see it's a quadrilateral. On the face of it, this quadrilateral is a very arbit one, right? I mean, it's an arbitrary one. Now, what my first thought in these kind of things is always try to break it into triangles. Now, because of these couple of 90 degrees that we had, the earlier ones that I pointed out, so I'm going to break them into triangles in this manner. So I'm going to break them into these two triangles. So now I'm just going to reorient this a bit. Just check this one out first, this part. So you have a triangle which has a base of 10 and the height is 8, right? This will be the height any which way, right? So this triangle has an area half into 8 into 10, as simple as that, right? So that is 40 units, square units rather. On the other hand, if you check the other triangle, so this one that we have, I'm just going to flip this a bit. So let me get the 6 below. So suppose this is the 6 that we have, and something like this is the shape here. Again, if this is the base, then this is the height, right? So the height is 12 in this case, isn't it? Because again, because of this 90-degree thing. So in this case, the area is half into 6 into 12, which is 36. And the entire area will be simply the sum of these two, which should be 76 square units. So pretty straightforward here. All you have to do is, check or break it into two different triangles and just maybe a 10-second or 15-second question. I hope everything was understood here, and I hope I was able to help you understand why did I break them into triangles. Hopefully, you would take that approach whenever something off the chart is presented in these kind of questions. Anyhow, that's all for this question. Thank you. Okay, so we have a 3D question. So we are looking for a total surface area of a frustum. I hope everybody is aware of this figure. So we have I've discussed these in quite details and related them properly. So those relations should be understood properly in these kind of 3D shapes and figures. In these aptitude tests, you would never have very complicated figures like parallelepiped or something. But the basic figures of 3D shapes, you should be able to understand the terminologies especially. So this is a frustum of a square pyramid. So let me just show you this figure once. So first I'll give you the top view. So there will be a base, which is a square, because it's a frustum from a square pyramid. So the base as well as the top of this pyramid will be squares. Now, these are the, I mean, this is a 3D thing, so I hope you understand. So this is the top view that I'm giving. So if you look at the pyramid from the top, or not the pyramid, rather the frustum. So this is what it will sort of look like. I mean, you'll have a square here on the top, and this particular thing that I've drawn, that is the bottom layer. So when you're looking from the top, that is the back layer, right? And these are the vertical edges. Oh, sorry, the slant edges, but not the slant height, by the way. The slant height is something else. I'll come to that if required. So this is the slant edges, something like this. I'll also give you the front view. So let's say this is a square, by the way. If I'm looking 3D, then you have to understand. I have to draw a little tilted. By the way, this is a square, huh? Oh, let me do that. Let's not confuse that part. I hope this should be understandable. It will not look like a square, by the way, if you're looking from the front. And this is the front view, by the way. This is a 3D thing. So this is how it will look like, sort of. I mean, I've drawn all solid edges. I mean, something will be invisible, but anyhow. So this is the front view. I hope you can understand all the surfaces. Now, this is why I was drawing these this thing properly, because the question is looking for total surface area. So all the surfaces you have to understand properly in order to get the surface area. So what you have to understand is there is a square below, there's a square up top, and each of these things will actually be a trapezium. And to be more precise, this will be an isosceles trapezium. So it will be something like this. I mean, both of these will be equal in length, and this and this are the edges of the two squares, the one on top and the one on below. So this is the lateral surface, by the way. So this is what we have. This is the entire figure. I've tried to break it down so that you can visualize it properly. Anyhow, let's carry on with the data. So, okay, so it's a frustum of a square pyramid with side of the top as 4 centimeters. So this is 4. By the way, this side is 4. Here, this is 4. And here, this is 4, right? So these are the 4s. The side of the base has 8. So this is 8. This is 8. And here, this is 8, right? And the slant height is 6. Okay, so this is, yeah, so this is what I was talking about. By the way, this is a lot of I mean, I've seen a lot of students making a mistake on this. This thing is not the slant height, it is a slant edge. The slant height is just showing you on the top view. You take the center of the, any one edge of the top surface. You take the center of the bottom surface, any of the edges, and you connect these two. So basically, this will be perpendicular to this edge, and this will be perpendicular to this edge. Now, if you just translate this to this trapezium here, it should be this one, right? So this is the slant height. So that is 6 in length. That's what it says, right? The slant height is 6 centimeter. And we're looking for total surface area. So first, let me figure out one of these lateral surfaces. So this is a trapezium, by the way. Area will be half into 4 plus 8, which is 12 into the slant height, or the height between the parallel edges for a trapezium. By the way, if you're not aware of this, no issues. This is 4, this is 8. And what you do is just break it into two triangles. This height is also 6, and the height of the triangle here is also 6. So half into 6 into 8 plus half into 6 into 4 adds up to this, right? Half into 6 into 12. So anyhow, that is 36. But this is just one surface. So each of these surfaces are going to have an area of 36, right? So each of these are going to have 36. So the total lateral surface area will be 36 into 4, which is 144. Now this is the lateral surface. Now think about the two squares that we have. Easy enough, right? One of the squares has an area of 4 square, which is 16, and the other one has an area of 8 square, which is 64. So these two add up to 80 plus 144. So that adds up to 224. So that should be the answer for this question. So in a way, it's a very easy question, but there's not too much to calculate also if you understand these figures. Um, but the main thing is to understand these kind of figures. So once you understand these figures, what they are, what are the terminologies, what those names mean. So slant height, what is that? Frustum, what is that? So if you understand those things, it's very easy to do, right? And you don't get, I mean, questions of higher difficulty level than this in any of the aptitude tests. Just that they will play around with the words and all. That's what you have to know. Any which way, hopefully this was sort of helpful to you guys. If you want to go ahead and check all the basics related to 3D, I'll leave the capsule link below. We just want to go through it. Anyhow, that has been covered in the full course as well. But yeah, that's all I had to discuss for this question. Hopefully this was understood. Thank you. All right, so we're looking for the circumradius of the triangle whose sides are these things. Okay, now the first impression that I have whenever I look at this question is that this should not be calculation intensive. I know that there might be many people who would be thinking just the other way around, but this is what my first impression is always in these kind of questions, because in an exam environment they would not give you questions which cannot be simplified. So they are just looking for whether you can simplify this thing or not. Now please understand, there is a traditional way of doing this. I mean, if you do not observe it, so what you do is just equate the area of the triangle in two different ways. One is because all the three sides is given, so you can use the Heros formula. Just get this: ABC are the three sides, and the S is the semi-perimeter, half of the perimeter, and equate it to something like this. I mean, this is also one way to find the area, where ABC are the three sides again, and R is the circumradius, whatever we are looking for. So because ABC are known, S is known, and here also ABC are known, so you can figure this out, right? So this is the traditional way, but obviously we are not going to do that. I'm going to first of all always try to simplify this if possible. So first thing, I don't believe that they want me to work with these numbers alone. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and simplify these numbers a little bit. So how to do this? Just understand this approach. So first thing, I'm trying to get a ratio of these three numbers. Now, whenever we are trying to get a ratio of three numbers, we are effectively trying to eliminate or divide by their HCF, right? So whenever you're trying to get the ratio, try to find the HCF. That should be the first thing that hits your mind. So again, I'm using a trick to calculate HCF quickly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find the difference of these two numbers. So here the difference is 34.2. Just calculate this properly. 136 minus 102 is 34, and then 0.8 at 0.6 are a difference of 34.2, that is. Now observe something. If I multiply 3 to this, so again, I should not be I should not be that fast here. What I'm observing is this 34 into 3 is this 102, and this 2 into 3 is 6, right? So basically, if I multiply a 3 to this, I get this number. Now, because the difference of these two is 34.2, so this should be 34.2 into 4, right? You can multiply 4 and check this. But the main question is whether 34.2 divides this also or not. So instead of dividing this, what I'll do is I'll take a difference of these two, and you can see that the difference is again 34.2. So effectively, this 171 is nothing but 34.2 into 5, right? So now our job is done, because we know that this number is 34.2 into 3. This number is 34.2 into 4, and this number is 34.2 into 5. The ratio of these three numbers is 3:4:5. So basically what we have is a right angle triangle. Now, if you're not aware of this idea, just use Pythagoras. 3 square plus 4 square will be equal to 5 square. This is a Pythagorean triplet, by the way. So this is in the ratio 3 is to 4 is to 5, implies it's a right angle triangle, because just a basic idea of similarity. Sorry, I wrote 5 twice. This will be 4. Yeah, so the thing I was talking about, this is a basic idea of similarity. So if I scale this side by 34.2, if I scale this side by 34.2, as well as this side by 34.2, then there is no change in the angles, right? So the final, triangle that we are going to have, this 102.6, 136.8, and 171 will correspond to these numbers. So here you will have 102.6, here you will have 136.8, and here you will have 171. So this is the triangle that we have, right? And this was my objective. So by calculating the ratio, I was looking for what sort of triangle. It is very difficult to see that it's a right angle triangle once you look at the given numbers. But if you reduce it to the ratio and the base, the reduced form of the ratio, that is, then I hope most of you can figure this out. I mean, this is a right angle triangle, right? Now, coming to the question, so we are looking for the circumradius, right? Now, this is just a this is a bit of theory you have to know. I have discussed the reasoning behind it in our classes and all. I'm not going that much deep today, but if I consider a circle, and so if I have a chord which subtends a certain angle on the circumference, say theta. So on the same side of the chord, on the center, it will subtend twice of that. So extending this idea, if I have a diameter, which is also a chord of a circle, for a diameter, because it is passing through the center, it will subtend 180 degrees, right? So on the circumference, it will subtend 90 degree. Now notice this triangle here. This is a right angle triangle, right? So for a right angle triangle, the circumcircle that we are going to have will have the diameter as the hypotenuse of the triangle. So in this case, this 171 will be the diameter of the circumcircle. So I'm writing this in short. The circumcircle, just read this as that. So this is the diameter of the circumcircle. So if the diameter is 171, the radius of the circumcircle will be basically 171 by 2, which is 85.5. That should be, yeah, that should be one of the options. So, and by the way, radius of circumcircle is the circumradius. So that is our requirement here. So hopefully this was understood. If you understand this idea, it is pretty straightforward. I would not say it is that easy to observe straight away, but I hope going forward, after you have watched the solution, in the future, you will try to simplify the values if possible. So that should obviously give you a lead. Because if you have to calculate using the first thing that I talked about, and also with the given values, I mean, it's better to leave that question, right? But it's not a question you should leave. Maybe in the first scan, when you're attempting a question like this in an exam environment, maybe if you're not confident about it, let it go. Come back to it later on once you've tried all the easy ones, and then give it a shot. Anyhow, that's all I had to add for this particular question. Hopefully everything was understood and you enjoyed this as well. Thank you. All right, so we're looking for how many scalene triangles are possible such that the sum of the two of the sides is 10 centimeter and all the sides have integral value lengths. Okay, so in these kind of questions, typically what you have to use is sum of any two sides of a triangle is always greater than the third side. Now, this is something I've discussed in classes. Whenever you use this, always try to use it in this manner. Sum of the two shorter sides should be greater than the longest side, because sum of any two sides should be greater than the whichever third side is left off. So I mean, longest side added to any other side will anyhow be greater than the third side which you leave off, right? So check always the sum of the two shorter sides whether that is greater than the longest side or not. That is a smarter way to look at this particular relationship of sides, which is known as a triangle inequality or something. But anyhow, so we are looking for how many of these are possible, where sum of two sides have to be 10, right? So in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to denote the three sides as A, B, C, or let me use small a, small b, small c. So A, B, and C. And then what I'm going to do is just going to take cases here. So nothing fancy out here. And by the way, here ABC actually relatively doesn't matter, right? For example, if I associate a 6, 4, and 9, so even if I switch between them and I write 4, 6, and 9, it really doesn't matter. It's the same triangle, right? So don't worry about the ordering of ABC. Just focus on how many different triplets can be formed, something like that. So different number triplets or something like that. Because it's a scaling triangle, it has to be different numbers. Anyhow, what I'm going to do is for A and B, I'm going to consider that this adds up to 10. So just let us take the cases here first of all. So if I consider 6 and 4, that adds up to 10. I can consider 7 and 3, that also adds up to 10. I can consider 8 and 2 and 9 and 1. So these are the possible cases, right? 10 and 0 is silly. But anyhow, I can actually eliminate this case. I've talked something related to that in our classes, but I'll explain that later on. But let's go ahead and check the first case. So if I consider A and B to be 6 and 4, now remember this. This is always I'm going to check. Okay. First thing, C has to be less than 10. That is for sure, right? I mean, just by using the basic one, the sum of two sides, C, A and B is 10. So C has to be less than 10. So that is for sure because I've considered A and B to be adding up to 10, right? Anyhow, so let us take the cases. So if I consider 9, the two shorter sides are 6 and 4. So this will automatically validate. You don't have to validate this again. 8 is also fine. 4 and 6 are the smaller sides. 7 is also fine. Now I cannot take 6 again because the question is talking about scalene triangle, right? If I consider 5, now this is the part you have to be careful in this thing. So 4 plus 5, because these are the two shorter sides now. So understand what I'm saying. So if I consider one side to be 6, another side to be 4, and the third side to be 5, then the two shorter sides are 4 and 5, right? So this is what you have to consider. 4 plus 5 should be greater than 6. It does. It is greater than 6. So effectively 5 is also acceptable, right? So we can take 5, no issues. Okay, let's move on. We cannot take 4. Let's take 3. 3 plus 4. So again, 3 plus 4. These are the two shorter sides. That is also greater than 6. So 3 is also acceptable. But now I hope you understand why am I pointing this out. 2 is not acceptable because if I consider 2, 2 plus 4 is equal to 6. Equal to 6 is not allowed, right? It has to be greater than. So obviously 2 is not allowed. So these are the 5 possibilities out here for C. So for A being 6 and B being 4. So basically what I'm saying is if two other sides are 6 and 4, so in that case, I can have 9, 8, 7, 5, 3, something like that. So effectively, we have 5 cases out here. Okay, let's move on. If I consider 7 and 3, so in this case, again, 7 plus 3 is obviously 10. So C has to be less than 10. So start with 9 again. So 9 is acceptable anyhow. 8 is also acceptable. Okay, now once you go to 6, now start checking this because now suddenly 7 has become the longest side, right? So 3 plus 6 is greater than 7. So 6 is acceptable. 5 is also acceptable. 3 plus 5 is greater than 7. So this is fine. But 3 plus 5, I hope you can see that it's just greater than 7, right? Because if I consider 4 now, so 3 plus 4 is now equal to 7. So 4 onwards, it is not allowed. So these are the 4 cases which are allowed. So let me leave them only. Again, finally, 8 plus 2, if I consider, so this is 9, first case, always start with 9 in this case. 8 is not allowed. 7 plus 2 is greater than 8, so that is fine. But 7 plus 2 is just greater than 8, right? So if I consider 6, 6 plus 2 is equal to 8, that is not allowed. So these are the only two cases. Now, this is the interesting part. This is what I was talking about. If I have a scalene triangle and integral sides, one can never be a side. See, the logic is very simple. If you consider one to be one of the side, it has to be the shortest side, right? And because it's a scalene triangle, the other no other value can be equal to 1 because all the sides are integral, right? So it has to be 1. That's one of the shorter sides. And even if you consider the other side to be any value, what can this value be so that 1 plus a is greater than b? I mean, it's never possible, right? Even if you take consecutive values here, I mean, it will be equal, right? It will never be greater than. You can check this out with this example. So if I consider 9 and 1, see, 9 is anyhow not acceptable, right? Even if I consider 8, 1 plus 8 is greater than 9, equal to 9. It's not greater than 9, right? So, this case should not be even considered in these kind of questions because it's scalene and integer sides. So for scalene triangles, integer sides, 1 can never be a side. You can, if you want, you can remember this. So any which way, these are the possibilities. Always check for double counting, but the way we have ordered it, the double counting will automatically be avoided. So you don't have to worry about that, because here we have taken 6, 4, and here we have started with 7 and 3. So that 6, 4 can never repeat, something like that. But always have a look for it. Because there is no specific order that we have done this. So because here you can see that from 7 to 5, we are switching over this 6. It's going below 6. So always check for double counting in these kind of cases. Fairly, you will be confident after going through the values. If you're not, just order it once. Hardly it will take a bit of time. Just order it once and check whether you have double counted anything or not. But I hope visually helps, because that will save a bit of time. So in this case, the total values, all these are different cases we are getting. So there are 5 cases in the first, 4 in the next, and 2 in the next. So a total of 11 cases. So 11 such triangles can be formed. Now, there are specific formulas for particular types of this question. My recommendation is you don't have to count too much. When you have a question like this, notice the value that is given. So sum of two sides in this case is 10. So you know that you have to start from 9 onwards. So there are a lot of countings involved. So you know that it's going to be fairly something which is a little more calculative, because suppose this particular data, instead of 10, it would have been 5. Then you have to do very less number of counting for these cases, right? So C has to be less than 5. So you start with something like 4. So fairly less number of cases is something you deal with. So in that case, you can, straight away do it in the first scan itself when you are going through the paper. Otherwise, maybe try it later on, because you should be aware that, yeah, this is going to be a little calculative. Not that it's tough to do, but it's going to be a little calculative. Anyhow, that's all I had to add for this particular question. I hope everything was understood regarding this. Fairly a basic principle that I'm using just to count it in a structured manner. That's it for this question. Thank you.
Hopefully you liked the solutions we provided for these questions. And if you did like it, do not forget to like the video and share, subscribe, and comment. Do subscribe to the channel and click on the bell icon. In that case, you'll get notification as soon as we upload a new video. And if you want to check a bouquet of courses that we provide, so we have a huge variant of courses from customizability to full preparation. You can check our website, www.mathoratory.com. I'll leave the link in the description below. And have an enjoyable preparation ahead. Welcome to the Math Oratory family, and have a good exam ahead.